Wintertime. The snow and cold that it brings can mean good news for some, bad news for others. It all depends on your point of view. Winter's a great time for things like hockey and skiing, all sorts of winter sports. But it's also a time for things that are not so much fun. A time to struggle with snow. A time for frostbite, bad colds, and flu. And winter's a time when a problem that plagues our industry can reach epidemic proportions. The problem of spalling and wheel flats. Epidemic? Add the numbers for wheels changed due to spalling and other tread damage. Each year, these problems cause hundreds of thousands of wheel sets to be changed. What does this cost the industry? Hundreds of millions of dollars every year. You bet spalling has reached epidemic proportions. An epidemic that adds up to big dollar costs, not only to the railroads, but it also means higher costs to shippers who own rail cars, and one way or another, to anyone who ships by rail. Spalling is like a disease, and like many diseases that become epidemic, spalling is preventable. But to prevent disease, you must first understand what it is. Well, this is spalling. It even looks diseased. Pockmarks on the wheel tread, sometimes no bigger than a dime. But any wheel spall that's an inch or larger condemns that wheel, because spalls create out-of-round wheels. Out-of-round wheels cause impact forces that are 2 to 5 times harder than normal. And wheels banging that hard can cause all kinds of expensive damage. The rougher the ride, the harder it is on the freight loaded in the cars. As well as lading damage, spalling causes damage to the cars themselves. Damage to the wheels, of course, and damage to the car structure. But what causes spalls? Well, it has to do with friction. Friction that's created by wheels sliding on the track. And in wintertime, wheels slide easier due to slippery track. The sliding produces heat on a small patch of wheel tread. The patch heats up quickly and then cools off quickly when the car stops or starts to roll again. Even short-duration wheel slides lasting less than 1 second can produce enough heat to create spalls. And this rapid heating and cooling can cause that small patch of wheel tread to expand and become brittle, to create what they call martensite. That's when the trouble really starts. Here's a simulation of how it happens. Cracks form around the brittle patch of martensite, and because it is larger, the patch is forced out of the wheel. Water entering the crack and freezing in wintertime worsens the problem. That and slippery track is why in the cold of winter spalling happens more often. Industry records show spalling problems are 5 times worse in winter months. There are more wheel slides when tracks are slippery. Okay, so what's all this got to do with you? Wheels slide. It happens. Wheels slide when a light car is braked normally on a track that may be slippery because it's wet or icy. If that slide causes spalling, it won't be the train crew's fault. There's nothing you can do about the weather. But there are other reasons slides happen. Like when cars are moved in the train yard with a switch engine and the handbrakes haven't been released on the cars. There are lots of times when cars will be moved with the handbrake left applied. Like the cars that load at mines and grain elevators that are handbraked to control their speed. You'll also find cars with handbrakes still applied at all industrial sidings, like lumber yards, warehouses, and chemical plants, or moving one or more cars during spotting on sidings. Or intermodal terminals, where you may find the handbrakes released at the near end of a car, but not on the far end of the same car. And you'll find handbrakes left applied in cuts of cars assembled into trains. It can be on a car on the opposite end of the cut from the engine, because someone chose not to brave the weather and check all of the brakes. On trains that are made up with multiple cuts, it may be difficult to find the applied handbrakes on cars that may be spread throughout the train. Brakes left applied are a problem, big time, a problem you can help solve. Here's what you can do. Before pulling a car or a cut of cars, make sure all handbrakes are released on all cars. Release the handbrake lever or pawl if the car is equipped with one. If the brake does not have a release lever, turn the wheel counterclockwise until the brake is completely released. Brake sticks can also be used to release vertical wheel handbrakes. Pull on the brake stick to loosen the handbrake. Once the tension is off the handbrake, turn the brake wheel until the handbrake is completely released. Again, it's important to remember to make sure all handbrakes are released on all cars. You can't afford to guess. Make sure. Look for slack in the horizontal chain. Is the bell crank in the down position? Are the 3 orange or white painted chain links visible? If you have any doubts, simply wiggle the chain. And remember, some multi-unit intermodal cars have to have both handbrakes applied to achieve a fully applied brake. You need to release both handbrakes, front and back. And you should make sure that the previous air brakes applications have been released. Pull the release handle and hold it for at least 3 seconds. That should ensure that the brake cylinder has released. So that's the story. Moving cars with the brakes left applied causes wheel slides. Wheel slides cause spalls, and spalling causes big trouble. It jeopardizes your safety, the safety of the people you work with, and the safety of the public as well. Spalls are responsible for expensive delays, shipment delays, whole train delays, delays that result from rail car set out and or car out of service time to replace wheel assemblies that have been caused by a wheel spall. Spalls are accidents waiting to happen. They can cause serious derailments. It's worse in winter, 5 times as bad. But it's a problem all year round. Spalling can affect rates for shippers. Defects such as spalls from sliding wheels cost the railroad industry hundreds of millions of dollars each year. And it's getting worse. It's an epidemic. What's the cure for the common spall? You. Most wheel slide defects are handbrake related, so the answer is in your hands. You and workers like you hold the answer. You can correct the problem. Stop wheel slides. Prevent spalling. Bring the number of wheel changes down to a reasonable level. Be extra diligent in the winter, because that's when the problems multiply. But all year long, remember, if rail cars could talk, they'd say, "Please release me. Let me roll."